All right, good afternoon, everybody. Let me know if I'm not coming through loud and clear. I am running the stream on my own today. It's a full Q&A episode. I'm glad to be back. Welcome to Scouching Live. AJ is off doing his real job, so now I have to do everything myself. So, of course, at the last minute, we had some issues with OBS, and that sucks. But we're all sorted out. We're all good. We're up and running, good times. Welcome to the show. This is also our last show before the week of the draft. I am out of town next weekend at a little hockey tournament that I got invited to. So that's going to be where I'm at. So there's going to be no shows next week, but we've got lots of content planned. Scouching reports are coming out. We got 2 come out this week already. We got another one tomorrow. I filmed the second last one today. Got one more to record. So we're getting right down to it here. It is almost the end of the season, and I am pumped. So anyway, welcome to the show. Again, today is a complete Q&A, so if you have any questions about the NHL draft, or anybody who's a draft geek, definitely get them in here, because I don't have anything planned, honestly, completely, to be completely honest. I've been deep in content land, but, it's all good stuff. It's all fun and games over here, and I'm really, really happy to be here. So, at the end of the day, there's nothing else that I really have to do in terms of housekeeping. In terms of draft rankings, those are going to get finalized on Friday. So if you're a subscriber to the site, you'll see them locked in. I guess that's tomorrow. So that's going to be exciting. Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm still not 100% sure about much, but I feel like at some point, you kind of learn that being 100% certain of things is often a mistake. So we're still working through the video archive that I've taken this year, really sort of ironing things out. But by and large, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, it is part of a bit of a joke in the room, in the Scouching Discord server for subscribers, that the rankings change quite often, and in some cases quite drastically. But I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of that is because the margin is so thin on a lot of these guys that, you see more of certain players and there's more you like. There might be more you sort of not like so much. And anyway, that's going to be the project between the end of this show and tomorrow. I've got another Scouching report. Again, if you're a subscriber, there's going to be 3 reports up now that you can watch if you haven't yet. They'll be made public over the next week. So we're going to have, there's lots to watch. There's lots going on, and it's all going to be a good time. But let's just get right into it. We can do the question thing. It's going to be, we're just going to have some fun, I think, it's all going to be good. All right, let's get started here. Carter, what's up? I know I'm the draft best player available is almost always the best decision, but I want to hear your take on roster construction and how complementary and specialist players fit in your ideal roster. Well, I mean, yeah, so the thing about best player available is that the more you do this, the more you realize that the word best doesn't really mean anything. I think in my books, in terms of complementary, you need different players to at least be capable of filling a certain role on a line, right? If you look at some of the best lines in the NHL, it is often there's no player on that line that doesn't have some level of skill. There's no player there's no player there who doesn't have there's no player there that doesn't have scoring ability. There's no player there that doesn't have some sort of physical element to their game. I think ideally you want players that are good and interchangeably capable at all of as many things as possible, and I think that's what I value in the draft. But I mean, I think you do need to realize you need to know what you've got. So you can look at a player and go, okay, I can put them with these types of players and hopefully there will be some chemistry here, right? Or I can experiment and try to put them, here and here and here. Because I think synergy and being able to work off of each other is a make or break kind of thing. Guys who score goals, if their primary job is scoring goals, but they don't have someone who can play that defensive style and get the puck to them and drive the puck up the ice or something, if that's not something they're capable of, then they're not going to score. Right. So sometimes that's kind of how I also feel guys kind of can go from one team to the next and pop off and have a great season or something. And it's just a matter of like knowing what you've got and who to put them together with. And I think like the Florida Panthers are a really good example of this. They do that. They've done that for years now, and it's gotten them to 2 Stanley Cup finals. So it's interesting. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but I do know that when it comes to the draft, I think you don't think about it necessarily with like your future roster construction in line. That's in mind. That's not really how I would approach it. That's like future, that's future issues, because there's also going to be guys you can sign. There's going to be guys you can acquire in a trade. But to me, the goal in the draft is not necessarily like who is best, but who can do the most things the most good. You know what I mean? And the things that really matter in the NHL, the best, right? That's what I'm focused on. And so from there, it's like you kind of just do that as many times as you can, and then you can, stitch things together at the end of the day and hope that that things can work themselves out with good coaching and good sort of analysis work and just good, smart folks. Is Desnoyers this year's Anton Frondel? No, Caleb Desnoyers is this year's Elliot Desnoyers. So there's that. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's a serious question or a joke. It's hard to tell with text, and I am also an old man, so I don't know. But if it, yeah. Who do the Senators take at 21? Vladislav Nestrasil or Daniil Prokhorov? Well, Daniil Prokhorov is Russian, and I believe I was in diapers the last time the Ottawa Senators drafted a Russian out of Russia. They have drafted Russians before, but by and large, they are playing in North America. So I'd be very surprised if Daniil Prokhorov goes off the board, because I believe Ottawa's scouting staff is largely the same since Michael Landauer took over. Nestrasil is possible. I mean, the one that I always think about if I'm the Ottawa Senators and I actually want someone who fits the bill there is Shane Vinsagian. I feel like he'll be there at 21. And I mean, it's pretty obvious that would be a guy that I think they would value quite heavily, right? Really good pace of play in his game, really intense physical player, probably the best hitter in the draft, I would say, and the most active hitter. And I mean, say what you will about this, but I saw an interview with him at the Combine where he said pretty much every team asked him if he's willing to fight. And that's not the type of player I think he would be, but I feel like the Ottawa Senators are a team that would ask him that type of question, and he would probably give them an answer that they kind of probably liked, and they think, oh, okay, now this is a guy we can round out our lineup with, who can play a physical role, and yada, yada, yada. So, maybe there's something there to that, but that's the guy that I think, it's a little bit spicy in that range, but it's not too much higher than I have him. And if the Ottawa Senators went that direction, I would not be surprised. And also, it would be a good fit for kind of what I think they're trying to build, while actually also having a pretty useful player. So that's the guy that I have in my mind going to Ottawa there. But I am always willing to be surprised. I have no idea ever what the Ottawa Senators are up to, and they are always capable of surprising me. Who are some guys you think slip in the draft, maybe out of the first 2-3 rounds? Ivan Riyadkin for sure. I think he's going to fall pretty hard. What else is going? Who else could slip quite a bit? I mean, outside of like the first round into the second or third, I mean, that's a heck of a drop, right? If there are names people are considering that just fall, I mean, it feels like the stock on Ben Keevan has gone down a little bit this year. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I mean, before the Combine, if you asked me this, I might say Cole Reshny, but I feel like he interviewed really, 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 really well at the Combine. And I mean, I'm all for it. I love the kid. I'm looking at other guys here. I don't know. I mean, I don't think these guys are going to fall out of the first. A lot of these guys are really going to fall. But I mean, I look at like maybe an Iz Wozniak as a guy that goes a little later than people expect. Cameron Schmidt probably is a guy who goes a lot later than people expect. I don't know. I can see, I don't know. I mean, maybe a Ben Kindle slips a little too far, but I don't know about outside the first round even. Who else is like potentially on this list here? Yeah, there's not a tremendous amount of guys that I think really, really, really slip. Like maybe Conrad Fondrick falls quite a bit because he's had a bit of a weird up and down year. But it all depends on kind of like what you expect, right? Like LJ Mooney, if you think he's one of the top 50 guys in the draft, he's going to go probably a lot later than 50. But if you're the type of person who looks at an LJ Mooney and goes, he's never going to make the NHL, then you wouldn't be surprised to see him fall to probably where he's going to go. But you never know. A team might just go up and pick him, and then everything changes. So it's a tough question to answer because that's a pretty precipitous drop. And I mean, you know, and I never thought Lane Hudson would fall into the 60s, right? So we'll see. There's still plenty of time for people to think and change their minds, and all it takes is for, let's say, most teams in the league to get cold feet about drafting a guy as the first or second guy on their list, and then they're in the third round probably, right? So who knows? Thoughts on Patrick Uzbek and Matus Lisi? Yeah, they are on Byron Bader's guys I haven't heard of. So wait, Patrick, is that I don't think Uzbek is the right name. It's Patrick Zubek, I think, is who you're talking about. That probably is an autocorrect. So I mean, I've seen both of these players quite a bit this year. I mean, Patrick Zubek has been on the Slovak team for years, and he's played at the pro divisions at some point for Slovakia, in Slovakia, I should say. I've never been really blown away with him. I know NHL teams, there are some that think there's something there with him. Like, he's pretty tall and pretty, you know, let me pull up his page here because I'm not sure how he is in terms of physical development. Like, yeah, he's tall and still has some room to develop, I think, physically. Yeah, 6'3", 200 pounds. Like, you could put a little more weight on that, and sure. But, I mean, I didn't really see a whole lot there that really got me, you know, got the needle moving for me. I don't really know how he would have shown up that high on that list, looking at his, I mean, outside of being over a point a game in the Slovak Junior League this year, because, I mean, the other thing too is the Slovak second division team that the under-18 league, or the under-18 team plays in the second division in Slovakia, and they're always just getting filled in every game, which I think is the point. And I think that considering their offense, he's pretty involved in it. So maybe that's kind of what does it, but I don't really buy it. Matus Lisi, I mean, I like Lisi more. I think he's a long shot, honestly. I've been watching him. I caught on to him like in November or December, I think. I sort of kind of poked around Slovakia for a day, and he really popped up as a guy that I thought was really interesting. He's on my list as a watch list guy. Again, I think the skill, he's one of these guys where it's like he leads with skill, leads with sort of high-end offensive creativity and those really fancy things that you want to see, but it's not quite on the level of like projectable to the NHL right now. I do think he's a guy that, you know, he's not small, you know, he's 6'1", and I think he's a guy that, I mean, I have him on the short list for like a 7th round pick. And I mean, I think there's a guy there that could develop quite well. And if I'm not, yeah, he's pretty young as well, like a June birthday. So there's a bit of a ways to go until he goes, you know, somewhere. There's quite a while until he's physically like fully developed and matured. So that's nice to know. But yeah, skilled kid. I like Lisi quite a bit more than Zubek, but I feel like Zubek is more likely to get drafted because of the size, and he's not a bad skater or anything. So there's that too. But yeah, I'm a fan of Lisi for sure. Why is Porter Martone god at hockey? Look, not trying to be biased or anything. Yeah, I mean, it's because I've had eyes on him since he was playing AAA hockey. That's why he feels my presence and he goes, this is going to make me better. I don't know. That's whatever. Where would you rank Keaton Verhoff, Evar Stenberg, Zavier Vilnuv, and Viggo Bjork if they were available for this year's draft? Great question. Let me just pull up my rankings here, which I'm not going to share. Honestly, I'll start with Stenberg, because I feel like of all of them, he'd probably be highest. Stenberg probably goes at 3 or 4 for me, maybe 2. Yeah, 2 or 3 more likely than 3 or 4, I would say. In terms of Vilnuv, I would say Vilnuv slots in directly behind him. I love Xavier Vilnuv. I think Vilnuv probably is up in that sort of between Hagen's, Eklund, Martone level type player. I love him. I think he's just such an impressive, dynamic offensive defenseman. And if he were one of the youngest players in the draft, like if he were Matthew Schaefer age, he is definitely one of the most incredible offensive defensemen for his age that I've seen in a while. And I think that at the under 18s, he showed that. Verhoff, I don't think is far behind that either, as I've seen him now. Like, I feel like Verhoff is kind of in that Martone, Frondel zone kind of thing, like a really solid defenseman with a lot of developmental room to go. Viggo Bjork, I like Viggo Bjork, but I think I'd put him the last out of all those guys, but I would not put him much further behind. Like, probably in, like, ahead of, like, a Lyndon Lakovich type player, you know, like maybe in that Jake O'Brien level, but higher. You know, I think the skill level is amazing, but I think the skating is kind of something that might make it a little tougher to project him. But I mean, he's still young, and there's still a season or an off season to improve. So I like Viggo Bjork, but I think I'm a little lower on him than the public, and I think I'm a little lower on him in that group of four. How big is the skill gap between Misa and Schaefer? Some of the mock trades make it seem like Schaefer is 10 times better. I think you might mean mock drafts. I mean, Schaefer, I don't think it's that much different. Like, the thing about Misa is that he uses it really, they both do this, but they use it really, really, really well. That's the part that I love about both of them. I mean, Schaefer does have the capability of, like, you know, deking you out of your skates a little bit here and there, but like Misa does too at times, but it's not really the goal of his game a lot of the time. Like, he'll, you know, I did the video on him today, and he's a guy who I saw him curl off the boards, and as he was in the curl, he put the puck between his legs and passed it to Chernyshov, who cut to the net and scored or something like that. And like, that's the kind of skill level that I think is different about Misa relative to the rest of the class, whereas Schaefer's more like he uses his skill to, like, change lanes and change gears and cross up defensemen on the rush and all kinds of things like that, which is just a different way to use it. And Misa is a little bit more simple, but like still very effective. So I don't know if it's so much like one player is a lot more skilled than the other. It's just they're kind of two sides of a similar coin to me, which is why they're in a tier still for me together. Spoiler alert, they're still together as they have been pretty much since December. Okay. I watched your Malcolm Spence video. It looked like he maybe nitpicked a bit too much at his game. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I like Malcolm Spence, but, you know, look, considering the fact that he's almost eligible for last year's draft, and, you know, I think I was perfectly fair. You know, I think Malcolm Spence is a guy that will play in the NHL. I think he's going to be a pretty good energy, sort of physical guy. But I mean, I just, there's a lot of times watching him where I kind of go, okay, there's stuff there, but, you know, in terms of generating offensive chances, you know, he wasn't that much of a distributor in the offensive zone at 5-on-5, at least. You know, defensively, I think he defended with his reach a lot more than he should have, especially in transition. You know, I like Malcolm Spence. He's still in my first round. You know, that's not, you know, it's not like I, you know, whatever, but I just think he's kind of towards the back end of that group in the first round that, you know, they're good players. There's a lot that each player brings to the table, but I think for him, it's like there might be upside there, but there are other players that I'm betting on more. I just think with Spence, there's a lot of moments like, you know, he faced a lot of defensive zone pressure and wasn't super involved in breaking those up successfully. So it's like, it's a matter of like actual success doing what he's doing. Like he's a good player for what he is. I think a very good complementary sort of power forward type guy who, you know, will compete and battle and do all those things. And so that's fine and dandy. But I mean, I think NHL teams also see it similarly, where it's like, you know, what's the upside there? You know, he's a little later in his development since he's almost eligible for last year's draft, and the offensive output just wasn't where I think people expected it to be this year. And honestly, since watching Spence, since he was in AAA hockey, like I've never been as high on him as other people. But again, like first round pick. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Where do I have him? There he is. Yeah. Yeah. Like first round pick for me, but you know, he's in that group with guys like Cole McKinney and, you know, Cameron Reed and, you know, Vensagi and all these guys where it's like, there's like a good player here somewhere, but like, I just think it's also like I'd rather have this guy or this guy or this guy or this guy, and it kind of bumps him down a little bit. But still, yeah, good player, and he'll play a lot of minutes on the World Junior team next year probably. So there's that. Would you consider Ivan Riyadkin as a D&D? The rumor at the Combine is his interviews were poor due to attitude in the interviews. So I can't speak to specifics, but I was told the same thing. I mean, look, it's a pretty open secret that Ivan Riyadkin has been a difficult one this year. I mean, it started out as like, oh, like the coach is kind of publicly really coming at him here. So what the heck's going on here? And then he left Russia, and I mean, I don't think he's going back to Muskegon next year. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And I was told the same thing, like that Riyadkin was a guy who was at the Combine and was, I think, a guy that teams were expecting to really show better, and he just didn't. And I read, and if you read the a couple of NHL scout quotes that are floating around out there, they are not super impressed with how the season has gone for him in multiple ways. And I mean, Riyadkin is a guy who I just don't, he's like a watch list guy there for me, because it's like maybe there's something going on like personally that is really holding him back, and like maybe he can work through it and like rediscover that like exciting skill level and that energy that he had last year that I saw here and there. But boy, yeah, like he's been a guy that I think is, I hate to like judge from a perspective that I'm in, but like he just kind of plays like he's coasting through the game. Like he just kind of is there, chipping in here and there. He's got some talent, but like it comes out here and there, and then outside of that, he's just kind of like being a little ratty, slew footing guys and tripping guys and hitting guys away from the puck, and just being a bit of a nuisance, and in a way that I don't think appeals to NHL teams considering his play. So to me, like, I only have him ranked because it's like maybe there's something that you can, heal there that might need to be dealt with, but I can't speak to anything specific on that regard. What's the hype about Mason West? Tall, lanky, raw kid who is very athletic, clearly. I think teams see a really good blank slate there that they can work with. I mean, I don't mind Mason West. I think he's a guy that I have like second, early third round guy. I think he's got some good skill for a guy his size. He's got a really nice skating stride as well. I don't think he's considered like fast or agile or anything like that. I mean, it's kind of like I see him as a similar guy to kind of how I saw Dean Letourneau last year a little bit, right? Like I liked Dean Letourneau last year, I guess. Like I saw the appeal of why teams would want him, and I had him ranked. But I think like people were getting really ahead of themselves of like how far he had to go to like project to higher levels. I think Mason West is a better skater than Letourneau, but in terms of like tall guys who played on the wing in the USHL in a bit of a limited sample and showed some things that there's possibilities there, Letourneau's more of a shooter, I think, and a scorer than West, who's a bit more of a playmaker. But there's there's an echo there. So like I think West is a guy who will probably go pretty early because teams like the blank slate, the mystery box kind of thing there. And he's going back to high school for next year. So I think he said he wanted to win a state championship, but I don't think he specified football or hockey. I think he said football. And so he's going to be out of the USHL and then go back to the USHL next year. So that's a bit of a question mark for me, like, because he might get drafted ahead of guys who are like already in college hockey and already playing pro hockey in Europe. And he's not going to even get to college hockey until 2026, 27. And that to me is a bit of a question mark developmentally, but there's nothing really you can do about that. That's his intention. And if it affects him in the draft, then it does. And in reality, I don't think he will. If he were 5'10" or 6 feet tall, then it might. But being his size and the rawness of his package, I think there's something there. Now I do want to not forget, we got a question. Let me just pull that up here. Here we go. We'll get to this once we catch up. So if you're watching, Mr. DeGrudner, we'll get to it. I agreed with something. I might overthink critiquing prospect games. Well, what am I supposed to do, right? Like, just say they're all sick, like, I don't know. I think I'm reasonable with players, right? Like the things that happen that are not good, or are a pattern, right? Like it's a pattern. That's what I'm looking for. And so like I don't know, like is that true with players that you like, like, or that you don't like? Like if I agree with you with a player that I'm not a huge fan of, and you also like, can I then critique that player? The point is, like, I don't know. Like I thought I was very charitable to a guy like Spence, and I've watched him a ton over the last few years. Thoughts on the Chris Krider trade? Yeah, I mean, look, Krider's 34, $6.5 million salary until 2027. And the Rangers need to spend their $16 million on Matt Rempe and Will Cully, so you got to save some cash. And so they didn't really have much leverage here, and he had a no trade clause, so they had to work around that as well. I mean, I think getting Torrance is solid. I think that Torrance is a fringe NHL guy, maybe. Like I think he's got the size and the energy up the middle to play like a depth role, like he kind of did at the World Juniors this year. Like he's a solid built kid who probably isn't an NHLer right away or in a little while, but after a few years, maybe in the AHL, just sort of being a supportive, stitchy guy that can play with a lot of different types of players and still sort of skate with them and play physical and all that stuff. Like it's a fine guy to get. And I think for Anaheim, with how much they've drafted, if they want to add a guy who might score 30 goals for them this year, and then that's the big thing they needed last year. They I don't think they scored a ton. Then that could be a huge help. And giving away Carey Torrance, they've drafted a lot, and I don't think, all due respect to Carey Torrance, I don't think they're going to miss him all that much. But I do think there's a decent chance he's some kind of NHLer for the Rangers at some point, especially with the age of that team and future turnover. And so, yeah, I mean, and I think he's a good fit with the Rangers and kind of what they do. I think this was said before, but what would be your ideal hockey player using traits of the 2025 draft prospects? Yeah, so, I mean, I would love Michael Misa's, like, awareness and intelligence on the ice. Like, his puck management is unbelievable. I'd say the energy of Victor Eklund would be sick. Like, the pace of play of Victor Eklund, the speed of Cullen Potter, and the skill level of James Hagens. Like, all of those things combined would be just electric. That would be sweet. You'd probably have Connor McDavid on your hands. Like, love it. Love all those guys and what they do. Thoughts on Fenway Group potentially selling the team back to Mario Lemieux after first buying the team 4 years ago? I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about this, right? Like, I don't really know. I kind of looked into this, and it seems a little bit strange, but I can't imagine, like, I wonder if it's that they think the Penguins are going to be more of a struggle. I think the Penguins are going to be in a bit of a struggle. So maybe they're getting ahead of it and thinking like their projections are going to go down. And so they're like, I don't know, maybe we'll just get rid of a part of our stake. Right. Maybe it's too much of an investment for them and they don't really want to, they don't really want to be as involved anymore. And they just want to see it as a line item on their private equity balance sheet. I don't know. But, hey, maybe this is Sidney Crosby's chance to buy a stake in the team. I don't know. But someone will buy the Penguins. So they will find whatever they need. And I mean, this is the kind of thing that it just is a thing that happens. It's business talk, and I just, I don't really know what the deal is there, but I don't think they want to sell the entire stake that they have. I don't think so. I could be wrong. Which of these combos would you love to see the most? Marner and Tage Thompson, Marner and Adam Fantilli, Marner and Dylan Guenther, or Marner and Bedard? Marner and Bedard, probably. Yeah, Mitch Marner and Connor Bedard together would be sick. I feel like Marner and Thompson and Fantilli would probably be pretty competitive, like they're both all pretty puck possession heavy guys. But Marner setting up Fantilli would be really, really fun. But I mean, I don't know. I think Bedard is desperate for is there a name for it? I'm Canadian, so I don't know anything about baseball. Is there a name for the machine that spits baseballs at you? Like, because Connor Bedard needs one of those, but as a hockey player, right? Like that's kind of what he needs sometimes, because he's trying to do a lot on his own. He's trying to like operate the machine and then run to the batter's box and hit the balls himself, right? Like he can use the machine and he can hit the balls, but it's really hard to do both at the same time if you don't have any help, right? So Marner with that combination would be really, really good. And Marner is also a pretty decent goal scorer himself, and so there's Bedard's playmaking potential also. Who's the player you still have the most trouble ranking? Radi Murtka. I would say Radi Murtka, because again, it's really hard to, based on what I've seen of him this year, it's really hard for me to go, well, what is he going to be in 5 years, right? I think he's going to go early, pretty quick. He's a 6'6" right-hand shot defenseman who can skate decently well. And that's a great combination to build on. I just think that the finer points and the hard things to do defensively, especially like footwork, closing gaps, he defends with his reach a lot and not really with his legs as much. I think he needs to work on that. Those are tough things to overcome, but I mean, if it like, this is why my tier for 3, my third tier goes from like 7 to 25. It's like there's a lot of guys where if I'm in a room with people, like that's the thing. I'm only one person and I have my opinions, but like this is a group effort and I don't have a group. So it's like if 3 people came at me and said, no, we really believe in Radi Murtka, like here's why, X, Y, Z, yada, yada, yada. And I have the 10th overall pick or 9th overall pick, like, okay, sure. Like, are there guys that I like that I might be able to snag a little later? Probably. But I also will file it away in my head of like, okay, but I liked these guys more, so let's not forget about that, right? So, yeah. I'd say Radi Murtka is the first answer that jumps out to my mind. Who would you rather have from an NHL asset perspective, Schaefer or Dobson? I mean, probably Dobson because he's got the track record, right? Like, Schaefer has not played a single NHL game. He has played 20 games this season. So on paper, I'm gonna go Dobson, right? Like he's fantastic in the NHL already. So probably Dobson. I mean Schaefer I see Schaefer as like a Dougie Hamilton type defenseman. So it's like, would you rather have Dougie Hamilton or Noah Dobson? Like, I'd like to have two. I'd like to have two of them. So for the Islanders, I mean, I don't know why Dobson's name is out there in trade rumors at all, but it would be nice to have both of those guys on the same team for sure. Who'd you rather have, Nazar or Frondell? Probably Frankie. I love Frondell. I think they're a bit complimentary here, but I think Nazar's skating is better. The skill level at a higher pace of play is better. Frondell is more physical. He's more built out, and I think he's a better shooter, like sort of off-puck shooter, good complimentary guy, but I probably would go Nazar. Like, he's just a very good jack of all trades up the middle of the ice, and I feel like Frondell is a different style of player, and for me, like, I see him as more of a winger, like more of a first or second line winger who complements guys maybe like Nazar really, really well. Like that's kind of how I come down on him. But it's close. I'd say it's close. Thoughts on some of the fun combine questions asked? Yeah, I mean, I can't lie. That Caleb Desnoyers one where he was asked about being on a desert island alone or with one person with a bottle of water. You can't share the water. You got a baseball bat. And he said, I'd hit a home run. I mean, that's such a silly answer that it's hilarious. If he said that to me in person, I'd be like, oh, like it's like, do you watch I Think You Should Leave? Like, are you a Connor O'Malley fan? Like, are you on that train? Because if you are, then good for you, sir. But what's the line of thought? Like, I'd want to unpack that a little bit. I mean, because like it's total nonsense. It's hilarious. But I mean, I would say if I were there, I'd be like, well, if I'm on a desert island, there's probably trees. There's probably something that bears fruit that is edible, probably, hopefully, and I would use the bat to harvest. And eat that food. And if the other person came near me and tried to capitalize on my work with the baseball bat, I'd bash their head in and eat the water bottle. I'd eat the water bottle. That's what I would do. So that's my answer. I would look for food and forage with the bat. You know, like, what if there's a snake in the grass, right? I would use the bat to move the foliage out of the way and go, oh, look, a snake. And if I did not use the bat to find this snake, I would have been potentially bitten and I would die. And then all hope is lost and the other guy gets the bat. So for me, it's like I'd use the bat to forage, look for food, you know. Look, you want to talk hitting a home run? How do you get a coconut out of a tree without it falling on your head? You climb right up on that tree and home run the thing right off the tree. And now I have water in the thing, and a coconut has food in it. So, you know, the guy with the water bottle, that's a teach a man to fish moment. Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. And I'm the guy learning how to fish, and I will outlive that person. So, And that's exactly how I would answer the question to NHL scouts. And then they would go, who the hell is this guy? Like, what is it? Pass. I mean, I don't really recall any of the other ones because they don't really stick out as much. I mean, people asking Shane Vinsagi to fight, kind of funny. But anyway. Or if he would fight, not to fight. They're not in the room being like, hey, put up your dukes, man. Let's test your fighting skills in this room right now. In this board room. in this conference room. Which players in this draft would you consider the biggest mystery boxes? Mertka, probably. Jackson Smith, I would say. There's a lot of routes he could go. In terms of, like, who knows what he could be type mystery boxes, like, Prokhorov, Nestrasil, maybe. Yeah. Trying to think of other ones. No, not a ton, really. A lot of defensemen, pretty raw. I mean, if you like, there are players where I think there are a wide range of potential outcomes, but in terms of like they do stuff, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out in the NHL. Like, there's a few. Is this the worst draft class you've scouted? Most shallow, not projectable, etc. I don't think so. I mean, I think this draft is really intriguing because there's a lot of guys. Like, there's a lot of guys who you can look at and go, sure, I can see this guy playing in the NHL, fine. And then it becomes like, who knows, guys, really fast. So, like, I think it drops off faster than most years, you know? I'd say, like, looking back on my rankings, and, like, I feel, this is a feeling, so let's just get that out of the way. I feel as though I can remember the feelings I had watching specific players, right? So it's interesting for me to say, go back to my 2021 list and go, all right, who's between 20 and 32? And how did I feel watching those guys in that year, which was a weird season, but regardless. And I think there's echoes there from 2021. Like, it's kind of that vibe. And so there's guys in that back half of the first round where I'm like, yeah, I could see something here. Yeah, there's a solid thing here. And it's like a bit of a mixed bag, but it's not bad. And then past a certain point, you're just like, I don't know, like, take a swing on whoever you want. Who cares? So I'd say like that, but there are a lot of guys in this draft that I go, an NHL team will find something to do with these guys, right? Like Vinsagi and probably Jackson Smith, Mertka, McQueen, probably Hensler, OBrien, Danewaye, Martin, Bear. There's a Frondel. Like, there's a lot of guys where it's like, yeah, I could see them having some kind of role, right? Like, even Cameron Reed and probably like a Cole McKinney, Malcolm Spence. Like, do I think they're going to be elite NHL players? Probably not. But, I mean, hey, look, the way I do things too is like, I set the bar pretty low. I set my expectations pretty reserved for these guys and then let them outperform, right? It's like, here's what we kind of hope for, because I don't want to like overestimate what we're doing here, but you know, let's see how far we can push this, right? Like, the expectation is Mnya. Let's see if we can get to Mnya, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna set myself up for nya and get nya. I'm gonna set myself up for nya and hopefully get nya, if that makes sense. I guess in the camera it's reversed. Like this is the better side of the equation. So you know what I'm saying. You get what I'm trying to say. How can you scout a player just by watching goal highlights? Like how they score their goals? I mean, you can't. I mean, the only thing you really gather from that is where they score their goals from and how they score their goals, like you said. Like, I think that Michael Misa is a fascinating example of that because he's not Patrick Laine, right? Like, Michael Misa is not teeing up shots from the top of the faceoff circle and blasting them past junior-aged goaltenders 3 times a game. That's not what he's doing. He's a tipping threat. He goes to the net. He is, works off the boards and one-timer, quick little moves in tight, rebounds, cutting into open space and getting open net shots and all that stuff. He does a lot of things really well, especially off the puck in the offensive zone that give him scoring chances. But I mean, in terms of like, if that's what you're scouting a player based on, then there's a lot of the equation that you're missing. And I'm not saying that's you specifically, but I'm just saying in general, the royal you, the world, because that's really all a lot of people get is watching their highlights that are stitched together on YouTube or Twitter or something like that. Sorry, x.com. And so that can affect things, that can affect things. Okay. Dylan. Oh boy. Dylan Griffin is here. Hello, Dylan. All the way from Vladivostok, Russia. Do you think that Pavel Tutnev has a shot to get picked this year? Follow up. Do you know what year it is? Follow up. Why do you look like that? Follow up. What do you think about video games? Follow up. Yeah. Hi, Dylan. Really insightful series of questions. Really thankful that you showed up. Boy, the lead in the drinking water in Wisconsin must be really intense these days. Do I think Pavel Tutnev has a shot to get picked this year? No. Do I know what year it is? Honestly, sometimes I forget. Like, I don't know if anyone else was like this when I was a kid, we had paper and notebooks in school. And I think from about January until February, I would always forget to add a number to the year. Like if it was 1997 and it became 1998, I would forget to put the 8 for like 2 months. Now, nowadays, everything is just tracked. You have a cell phone when you're 4 years old and you know what year it is just by looking at your whatever. But now I do go long stretches of time in a year where I don't really remember what year it is because also the last 5 years of my life, and I think everybody can agree, just don't count. It's all one long year. It just is how it is, It's just the way the world is now. What are your thoughts on Byron Bader's model? I find it fascinating to look at. How much stock do you put in Byron's model? I don't put any stock into it, honestly, because I have a very similar thing in front of me all the time. Like, I think with Byron Bader's work, I mean, it is what it is. It's a model of statistics that takes into account what is publicly available and uses historical analysis to give you a probability of a thing. So my whole thing is like, look, I don't want to like be a jerk, but like, I think it's very telling when you look at Byron Bader's model, look at the comparables, right? Look at the references that he's making to other players, both the historical ones and the current ones. Like he does like a pre and post draft kind of thing. And that kind of illustrates like just how inaccurate stuff like that can be. Because like, it's just not it's just all over the place sometimes, right? And sometimes it's right and whatever. But like my thing with him and my thing with that kind of work, and this is why I do what I do, right? Why I go into the games myself and like track the information that's coming out that isn't just available on a game sheet. I look at something like, okay, this guy drafted 62% chance of being an NHLer. Great. Really good odds. Why is it 62%, right? What is it about that 38% that doesn't make it in those comparables, right? Because if you roll a 3-sided dice, do those even exist? I know there's 4-sided. No, there's a 4-sided dice in a dice set, right? My Magic the Gathering cards are stored. Oh well, but if you roll is there a 3-sided? Anyway, if you do a random number generator between 1 and 3 and it comes up 1 and that player turns out to be nothing, Okay, that's fair odds, but like, is there a way to analyze that one and go, how can I make my odds better and know whether or not this player is worth it, right? What are the other factors at play here that might change things a little bit? And like, that's where I come in, I think. And that's where I go, look, if you're in the second, third, fourth, fifth round, I can find you guys that are probably gonna come along a little bit better than the rest of the cohort. But again, the NHL is a tall order anyway. Like, making the NHL is an incredible achievement, and it's really, 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 really hard. Coming from me especially, because I tried to make the NHL for the whole first 17 years of my life, and then I decided I wanted to do better in school, so I stopped playing hockey. But you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really hard. And so I don't know. You know, like, it is what it is. But I don't track his ranking, because I know that he's not actually, like, I don't think he's watching these guys and like doing all of the above. Thoughts on Archium Gonchar and Ilyas Magomed Sultanov. So Ilyas Magomed Sultanov, not only one of the best names in the draft. I actually watched him the other day because I've seen him pop up in some rankings lately from some insiders, and so I kind of checked him out because I remember watching him at the beginning of the year and watching him last year with Yaroslavl and kind of thinking, oh, this guy's kind of nice, kind of neat, whatever. And I mean, he's a guy, you know, like, he's a little older for the draft class. He's a pretty decent skater. He's not small. And is he going to get drafted? Probably. I don't, you know, he's one of these like Kirill Kirsanov types where it's like these bigger Russian defensemen who are perfectly adequate at quite a lot of things, but like super high ceiling or projectable, I don't think it's there yet, or really there. With regards to Gonchar, I mean, Gonchar is a crazy person. I've watched him a lot this year because there are some moments I see, like, if you watch highlights of Archium Gonchar, you're going to go, holy crap, this guy's amazing. But then you're going to watch like a full game of him and you go, what is happening here? Like, Gonchar is aggressive offensively. Like, he is very Magomed Sharkanov style, if we're talking Russian defenseman. Like, he probably will try a lacrosse goal at some point in his career, right? Like, that's just the kind of player he is. Like, I don't think his defensive game is very well refined. His skating ability is very northbound focused. So I'm not really buying that. But I mean, he's flirted with my list all year. And if he gets drafted, I'll be really happy about it because he is a lot of fun. Is he like super projectable? I don't think so. Like, I don't know when he would be the best player on my list that I'm drafting, but he certainly could be there if you really buy into the best moments of his game. But I don't know. I've seen him a lot, and he just doesn't quite cross that Rubicon for me. I can't get around to seeing it on Porter Martone. I don't know what it is. I still have him top 10, but I see a lot more concerns than most do. He's more in the 7 to 10 range. So, yeah, I mean, look, I recorded the Martone one, and it has been really interesting doing the recordings and doing them the way that I'm doing them this year, because it really does let me stop and slow down, and it sort of neutralizes a lot of sort of the like the biases that might be there or that I've forgotten about. And like, I'll do a video on a guy back to back to the next one and go, whoa, like, the gap might not be as far apart as I think here. Like, and Martone, like, I agree. I think there are some things that legitimately could be a little bit concerning about his future in the NHL. But having met him, I think he's the type of guy who will bust his butt to get better. Like, I think, not saying that the other guys in the draft don't, but I mean, they made him captain in Brampton for reasons, and he kind of exudes this, like, I am focused on hockey and I am focused on getting better. And like, when we asked him what he wanted to improve on, he nailed it, right? Like, he's like, my ultimate goal is to play faster, get up the ice faster, you know, get stronger, and just be more of a dominant, powerful force. And that's exactly kind of what he needs to be. And he's not, like, with with Martone, it's kind of similar to like how Roger McQueen is physical. It's like, yeah, you're throwing hits, but like, it's a second after the guy moves the puck, so it doesn't matter, you know? And it's like, okay, you're finishing your check, sure. But in terms of impact on the game, you've now taken yourself out of the play and the puck is flying the other way already, right? So it's like, if you can just close that gap a little quicker, be a little more actively engaged, do all those things, then I think it makes things a lot better. The thing with Martone is like the skill level for his size and the pass vision is unbelievably good. And, really good driver of scoring chances, drove a ton of offense for his team. I do think though, like watching the tape I had on him back, I go, God, that Luke Misa, man, like he can fly. And having Luke Misa on your line and going to college with him now, those two are such an impressive duo together. And I think they are a great example of why you need those two players to complement one another. And I think Martone is just a fantastic sort of passing and vision focused guy. And you're betting on that, and you're betting on the downsides to improve. And I think that those downsides could improve quite easily. It just might take time, And I think a lot of that was shown at the World Championships, right? Like I saw him at the World Championships. I watched most of the games he played, like pre-tournament, and then I watched the game he played against Denmark when they lost, and the game against, I think he played against Sweden. And he looked really outmatched against the Swedish men's team for sure. Like the speed of the game just seemed too much. But at the end of the day, I still really like him. He's well into my top 10. But yeah, like I see where people are coming from, and it is a bit of a concern, I would say, but I don't know. There's still a ton of upside there for sure. Any insight on Cooper Simpson, a French-Canadian prospect and analyst? Recently had him in the top 32. First time I hear of him. I mean, I wouldn't put him in the first round. I don't have Cooper Simpson ranked, honestly. I think he is pretty skilled. And I think he's got a pretty good shot. I watched him a few times in the USHL, and of all the high school guys, I was a little bit like disappointed in like the ability to drive pace of play and create for line mates consistently and do so at 5-on-5. Like the games I tracked on him, I just kind of thought were ho-hum, whatever, but he does have some good skill and a really good shot release. And I think there is something there with him. But first round pick, I would not use him a first round pick on Cooper Simpson. I don't think really. I mean, maybe I'll live to regret that, but I'm not sold on that. And I thought he wouldn't go back to high school this year after spending time with Tri-City last year. And I don't know if that was beneficial, because when I watched him with Tri-City this year, it kind of just didn't seem like that much of a step up from the year before. What's Will Moore's best case scenario? I mean, probably a middle six center, like absolute best case, like a 200-foot second line playmaker. But I don't know if he'll get there. Like that's a pretty tall order, but he has had some really bright moments that I've liked. It's just a matter of like capturing it more often. I like him. I like him, but that's the Porter. I thought Porter Martone officially did commit to Penn State. I could be wrong. I will fully admit I'm not leaking anything here. Just by and large, I genuinely thought he had already committed, but maybe not. I mean, I feel like that's probably the right decision for him, but I have no insider information there, so my mistake. But Will Moore, all around really solid player. I like Will Moore, but I'm not totally sold on I just haven't seen it enough, and the speed of his game and the pace of his game is not kind of where I think it needs to be. But I thought his U18 was really good, and he's kind of worked his way back into my top 40. So I like Will Moore, but probably as the second guy I pick. Even though there are other players I think you could get after Will Moore is probably picked that I think are as good, if not better. But yeah, good player. You think Montreal can get Eklund and McQueen at 16-17? It's not impossible. And McQueen might be a bit sketchy. I feel like a team might pull the trigger on the risk early. But yeah, Eklund is entirely possible. And Eklund to Montreal would be crazy. If it's Eklund and Bear, or maybe a Jackson Smith is available there, or Ben Kindle or something, or whatever. They're going to have a choice of some good players at 16-17, I think. You could reach a little bit on an Eric Nilsson. I love Eric Nilsson to death, and I feel like he might be there. And he's a center. Cullen Potter. If it's Cullen Potter and Victor Eklund 16-17, you're laughing. That's just silly to me. So who knows? But or Potter Nilsson or whatever. But yes, could be fun. If a team in the mid first round wanted to draft a player solely on what they could get for him from other NHL GMs in a trade over the next couple of years, who are players that should be prioritized in the middle of the first? Well, it's like, Carter Amico. I mean, I like Carter Amico. Don't get me wrong. Carter Amico is a good player. That's the first one that comes to mind, is like probably drafted around then and is a solid player, but he just screams like rental for a first round pick type defenseman, which is kind of, I think, what you're asking. It's a great question. It's tough to answer. At his best, maybe Vansagi. If Aitchison is there, Keishon Aitchison, yeah, guys like that probably. Yeah. Thoughts? Oh my goodness, there's more that I missed. Would you rather have Lyndon Lakovich or Yuri Slafkovsky? Probably Slafkovsky, but yeah, probably Slafkovsky, but it's close. Who would you rather have, Potter or Rossi? Rossi, I think. Are there any players you keep seeing relatively high or low on mock lists and media reports that, hyperbole aside, make you question your sanity even after revisiting their film? I mean, again, Hockey Prospects shout out, Black Book, phenomenal investment for $20. Go buy one. The NHL quotes are on its own worth the $20, and they are in love with Brady Martin. Brady Martin is probably gone top 4. Top 5, it seems like. To them, it's like if he's there at 6 or 7, he's a steal. And I just can't make heads or tails of that. Like, I have him in a tier that starts at 7. Like, that's where I would probably start thinking about it. But that makes me a little crazy. I mean, I see why, but I also just, like, I feel nuts. I mean, people completely forgetting about James Hagens. Like, seeing Hagens towards the back end of the top 10 seems a little crazy to me as well. Especially having just done a video on him that's recorded. Jake OBrien seems to be a guy that might be like a top 5 dude as well. And that, like, I like Jake OBrien. I think he's got some areas of his game are some of the best in the draft for sure. But I think that's a little bit too much risk on physical development for me to take in like top 5. But it seems like he might be in that range. Other than that, like, I understand, I can easily understand why teams would really, really like certain types of players. The one that blew my mind in that Black Book was what NHL scouts were saying about Bill Zonin. Like, there's one in there where someone was like, if the NHL draft were 10 rounds, I wouldn't draft him. And I just can't believe that. That is just bananas, because I think like, if we're talking NHL playoff type players, I don't know what else you want, right? Like, he is an NHL playoff guy. And I love him to death. And I know there are others out there that kind of do like him as well. But seeing him as like a fringe first round pick, it's like, I've heard NHL scouts simultaneously say he's probably one of the most projectable players in the draft to be a third line center or something like that. So why would you not want that, if you know that in the late first round, lots of guys don't play, right? To me, that automatically values you pretty highly. And I think he could be really, really good in that role. Thoughts on Dan Milstein and Gold Star bringing over Russian 08s and 09s to play OHL draftees? Are you watching or have anyone you have your eyes on? I'm going to the game in Toronto on Saturday night. If Dylan Griffin is still here, I believe he'll be there as well, so that'll be fun. I will go, what's it called? I will go, I am going to a tournament as well, next week, where I think it's the same team that's going. And it's going to have, I think there's like a Swedish team, a team from Slovakia, and a bunch of Canadians from all over the country coming in. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And Dan Milstein's team is going to be there. I think it's the Gold Star team as well. So in terms of Russian 08s to watch, I mean, let's see here. I want to see who's on this roster. Dan Milstein, where are you, dude? Here you are. Oh, you didn't post the rosters. Okay, cool. Gold Star Toronto. Let's see if it shows up. Nope, just a lot of Pokemon. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, X.com. Anyway, I could just pull up the spreadsheet of this. Sorry, bear with me for a second here, whilst I scramble live on camera to find this document because I do have it. There it is. Okay. Rosters. Gold Star Hockey roster. I'll just go through the guys that I have at least seen. Nikita Ovcharov is really good, I think. He's a guy to watch. And I don't really recognize anybody else. So, yeah. Like, I don't really get the opportunity to watch 09s in Russia because their video's not accessible. But Ovcharov I saw early in the year this year. He's an 08. And was playing for the Red Army full team, and he's pretty good. That's a guy that I would keep my eye on from there. That was really anticlimactic. I know. We need Mason West and Alexander Karmanov on the same team. Well, sir, you might not have to wait too long because I believe Karmanov is a Fargo draft pick as well. So if he makes the team and Mason West shows up halfway through, then you get your wish. You specifically compared Mason West to Dean Letourneau. Would you consider Minnesota high school hockey or Canadian high school hockey to be a higher level of competition? Minnesota by a country mile. I mean, Canadian high school hockey is better now. But yeah, it's Minnesota for sure. I mean, granted, like the depth of like some of the bad schools that Minnesota, like, you don't see too many like 15-0 games in Canadian high school hockey. Like they separate the tiers decently well. Like St. Andrews is a private school, so like they play other private schools and like they can travel to play like Shattuck St. Mary's and stuff. So they play those types of teams. But Minnesota high school hockey, so you have to be kind of careful with Minnesota high school because a guy like Mason West could go out and score 6 points in a game against some school from across town that is just not on the same level as his. So that's something you have to be cognizant of. And I'm always very wary of Minnesota high school players, but I'm even more wary of Canadian high school just because I don't think that level of competition is super high end. Yes, Martone with the speed of Cameron Schmidt would be fun. Thoughts on Kasper Schulman? Oh boy, straight out of Norway. Kasper Schulman, I will never ever forget because he was the guy who iced the game against the U.S. national team in the pre-tournament games for Norway. And then they proceeded to get absolutely stomped at the World Under-18s. I mean, I've seen a little bit of Schulman this year, and I don't really know what to tell you, honestly. I don't have a really detailed look on him. All I know is that he's from the coolest place in Norway, Narvik, Norway. Go look on a map where that is. Narvik is quite a place, and so I would probably leave for Sweden if I lived in Narvik too, probably, and wanted to play hockey. All due respect to Norway and Narvik, but you're pretty much living with polar bears up there, I think, and, playing hockey in Sweden seems pretty good. But he is on the list for next year for sure. I've kind of wandered a little bit into 2026, and I've seen a couple of St. John's players. Are they going to be stacked next year? You mean Newfoundland? Like the Newfoundland Regiment? Let me take a look here. Oh, it's not even... they don't even have an Elite Prospects page yet. I mean, Newfoundland did, from what I know, very limited about the QMJHL draft. Like, the guys they drafted, Ben Veach and the other guy, I forget who it is, they're both pretty good. I mean, the Puck Preps guys know way more about them, but I pretend like I know things about these players and see them once in a while, and they seem pretty good. Do they have rosters? Or are you talking St. John? That's the big question mark, right? Because St. John is very different. The St. John Sea Dogs, I mean, the St. John Sea Dogs, like, you gotta hope that at some point they get to be better because they draft all the time and they just still seem to be, struggling to get out of the, to get themselves into it. I mean, Alexander Donovan is a good pickup. Cameron Chartrand is a good pickup as well. So, like, those are some pretty good players. I don't really know, though, honestly, but those guys are pretty good. Oh, yeah, Dylan Rozzi is on that team. Rozzi, he's pretty good. But I don't know too much about the rest of the picture. Egan Beveridge, he's fun to watch. He didn't do much this year, though. Percentage chance Hagens falls out of the top 5. 65, 70. I mean, think about it. It's going to be Misa and Schaefer somehow, probably 1-2. Misa will not be outside the top 5. I'd be stunned if he did. But it seems like Brady Martin will be in there. It seems like Jake OBrien might even be in there. And is Porter Martone going to fall out of the top 5? Maybe. I think Frondell could be part of the top 5. And is a defenseman going to sneak in there? Like, is someone going to bite the bullet and just go, let's take Mertka, 6'6" right-hand shot defenseman? Like, for me, if like Nashville takes Brady Martin and Utah gets a pick, is Utah taking Porter Martone? I don't think so. I think they would probably lean more in the Mertka direction, right? Like, it just strikes me as something Utah would do, you know? And so I think there's like a pretty good chance Hagens isn't a top 5 pick. And I mean, think about it, right? Like, his team had multiple disappointing playoff runs. You know, he hasn't played in a long time. He's small. Is he a center? Is he a winger? I don't know. I'm speaking as an NHL person here. And there's a lot of arguments for people to go, okay, we'll look a different direction. Would I agree with that? No. But I think it's quite possible. Quite possible. Ryan Leonard or Porter Martone? Probably Martone, but it's like they're very complementary. I'd like to have both of them on the line together. That would be fun. Who has the highest upside, Coots or Reshny? Probably Reshny. Yeah, I'd say Reshny, but I have more faith that Coots is gonna be something in the NHL. Like, Coots reminds me a little bit of like a Chandler Stevenson, where he's not the biggest guy in the world, but you still really want him on your third or fourth line. Just the skill and the quickness, and the intelligence and off puck reads and good defensive ability. Reshny's no slouch there either, but I think Reshny is more risky. Like, I think that the projection on him is really risky, but I mean, again, going off of what's public, the vibe check on him is immense. Like, he just seems like such a smart kid and really great personality. Like, he just exudes like something that I think I personally vibe with. And so who knows? I could see that being a good one too. Like, they're both good players, really, really good players, but I think I lean Coots a little bit. They are pretty close on the list though. They're in the same tier. And I guess what I'm telling you is I am hopeful that if I'm working for a team and those two guys are really close together on my list, like they are, and it comes to my pick, I hope one of them is gone. You know, like that's kind of where I stand on that. Did you see encouraging progression from Limitov as the season went on? Not really. I mean, he's not bad. He's a good player. He's got lots of upside, but boy, it's almost like he doesn't know how big he is. It's almost like he doesn't know how good he is as a skate. It's almost like he doesn't know how good a skater he is. Because the last few games I saw Limitov, it's like, it's the same, right? Really quiet, guys get right through him constantly and whatever. But then sometimes he just erupts for some incredible, like, oh my God moment where you're like, what is that? In a good way. But then there are also the opposite where you're just like, what is that? What is happening? What is in front of my face here? But there's upside. You know, I think Limitov could find his way in the first round. I know NHL teams are kicking tires on him pretty hard. And so first round, yeah, I could see it. I don't know. I have him in the second round, but not too deep into the second round. But he is a fascinating one that I am very curious about. Did you see that my boy Konstantinos Helenius is AHL Rookie of the Year? Best prospect on Buffalo after Benson. Let's see. Check the Buffalo Sabres out. Who do they have in the system? I mean, probably. Yeah. I mean, Östlund, I might go Östlund a little bit, but they're close. Like, Östlund and Helenius, I'd say, are different types of players, but fill the same kind of role. Rosian, I'm hoping breaks through at some point. I mean, boy, Luke Osborne had a huge year. I don't know if you would consider Yuri Kulich a prospect anymore, but I think Helenius and Östlund, like, Östlund has higher upside than like pretty much anyone else, but Helenius is definitely a really projectable one. So yeah, I mean, I watched him in the AHL a few times and he looked pretty good. I'm just joining the stream now, so sorry if you've answered this, but where do you expect Riyadkin to go? I think he has top 10 talent and is slipping for mostly off-ice reasons. Riyadkin is going to go late. He is going to be a Shedeur Sanders. That's, I think, what's going to happen. It's not good. I don't know how else to sugarcoat it. It's not a secret. Like, it's not good. it's all around bad vibes, and teams are not down. Is there something else going on? Probably. I think from what I've talked to people about and what I know, but teams are not gonna like. I don't think NHL teams are particularly in the mood to like play parent to kids a lot of the time. And I mean, maybe it pays off, but I don't think he's going to be one of the first guys the team takes at all. I could see him being a swing someone takes and goes, maybe we can fix him. And maybe that works. Maybe it doesn't. I don't think I see top 10 talent there based on what I've seen this year. I don't think I even see first round talent. Like I really have not seen much out of him where I'm going, this is looking like a real high end NHL player. There's a lot going on there. I think there's a lot going on. Thoughts on the Survivor Season 50 cast? Ooh, built your all-time roster you'd want to see play Survivor from the NHL or NHL draft. That's a great question. So the Survivor 50 cast I think is pretty underwhelming. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, the 50th season of Survivor is going to be basically a best of, like, the whole series. And they've revealed the full cast. And, I mean, I haven't seen every season, so I can't speak specifically. But, I mean, there are some good ones here. Like, Coach coming back is going to be awesome. Aubrey and Chrissy and Christian are all people I've loved. Angelina is hilarious, and Rick Devens has been really good. Like, I could have gone without like D and Jonathan coming back, and like, it's nice to see Charlie. Genevieve will be nice to see as well. Canada represent. What's up? Joe coming back and Kyle. I could have gone without that for sure. Camilla, yeah, I see Camilla being a reasonable one. I don't know. Like, I feel like Mike White is going to get voted out immediately because they're like, you're the guy that wrote White Lotus. Like, what are you doing here? Frig off. And they're just going to vote him off. Like, that's just what's going to happen. And I feel like anyone who has won or played the game a bunch of times before, like Sari and Ozzy and Stephanie, they're gone. I think they're going to be gone really fast, especially because a few of them have been on best of seasons before anyway, like Heroes versus Villains. Sari this is her 5th time playing, like, and she was on multiple best of seasons. So in terms of NHL players I'd like to see on a Survivor, Sean Avery, definitely Sean Avery. That would be good. Elias Pettersson, I feel like would be a fun one. And Elias Pettersson and Sean Avery on a beach together. Yes. Honestly, I won't speak about NHL prospects because, my keyboard stopped working. Nice. Cool. Elite Prospects broke my website. Oh, no, it's just all broken. Great. Cool. Anyway, who else would be nice on that one? Seth Jarvis. That would be good. Jeremy Roenick. Paul Maurice. Oh man. This is getting me excited here. Tim Thomas. Basically, I just want a bunch of unhinged ones. Phil Kessel's a good one. Yep, Phil Kessel. Ilya Brizgalov. Yep, Ilya Brizgalov on Survivor would be sweet. I mean, you can't all have men either, right? It just can't be all men. Kendall Coyne Schofield would be pretty fun. Cassie Campbell. Cassie Campbell would be good. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of them, though. One of the other fun Combine questions was an Ottawa scout saying that, players to tell them a joke that only two of 59 could do it off the top of their heads. Here's mine. I would tell you mine right now. I think I did this. I might have done this on stream before, but what do you call a guy with no arms and no legs in the ocean? This is Bob. Nobody would laugh at that. And again, based on the home run thing earlier, they would look at me and just go, get the hell out of here. Go home. Like, go start a YouTube channel, nerd. Nobody would laugh at that. No. The other answer, if I was in the room with the Ottawa Senators and they said name a joke, I'd say the Toronto Maple Leafs. Eh? Anyway. What are your goalie takes in the draft? Sounds like everyone likes Frolov. I mean, I like Andrianov, and a goalie I've liked is Sergei Dolgov, but he's 20 years old and from the middle of nowhere in Russia, so who knows? Who else? I mean, everybody's talking about Ravensburgen. He's fine, I guess. I don't know. The smaller guys are actually kind of intriguing. Gabriel Daigle, actually, the more I looked at him, the more I thought there might be something there to buy low on. His workload was astoundingly terrible this year. But Anton Melchikov had a really, really good back half of the year, but he's pretty small. Ivan Kovic, I think, is good. I think he's legit. I mean, as a later round guy, like I like the Finnish kid, Juha Samoniemi, Roberto Henriquez, Slovak. Doesn't sound like a Slovak, but that's a Slovak. There's a few, yeah. Which player ranked in the draft has aged the worst from your rankings over the whole time you've scouched? I mean, probably Trikozov at 8. That kid, I mean, I talk to people about him quite often, and there still is a lot of hope that he's going to figure it out and get to the NHL. But like he physically developed faster than they expected, I think. But the thing is, like, he played for like the Omsk program. Like the word is out in the NHL, I think, that people don't really trust Omsk to develop players themselves. Like that's why he's here so fast. So, you know, and that's why guys like Vladimir Gradinin left, you know, Timur Mukhanov left. The development structure there is just not very good. And Trikozov came over to North America, played fourth line minutes, got injured and missed the season. Like this one's a write-off, right? I still believe, but, and I will admit, like I went back because I thought I was nuts. I went back and watched all the video that I pulled on Trikozov that year, and he was amazing. Like so good. And I just can't look at that and go, I was wrong at the time. But it has aged pretty badly. I'm not going to lie. And it just hasn't really gone according to plan. And I know that lots and lots and lots of teams had him ranked a lot higher than where he actually got drafted. But in terms of like now it's like a question of Omsk being a problematic place for young players to really develop into like more than just skilled players, but high-end players. Yeah. But that one is a little silly right now on my end. Which team or customer has been the most interesting when it comes to your tracking company? I can't really talk about that. Yeah, but boy, it's been a story, that's for sure. Best player comps for Hagens, Desnoyers, and OBrien. Let's see, is my keyboard working yet? Why isn't this working? Am I dumb? I feel like I am being dumb here. Let's try this. Let's just try this. Maybe it's just the batteries. You know, this Chinese mechanical keyboard failing me live on camera here. Let's do this. Does this work? No, it doesn't work. Awesome. Let's try this. Oh, that works. Okay, so it's just the window itself. Nice. Okay. Mozilla Firefox. Everybody told me to get it. Sucks. NHL. Okay, now it works fine. Okay, great, cool. I love doing stuff on the fly. This is great. Live is so awesome. Isn't live the best when you're alone? Okay, let's stop screwing around. For you, and you mentioned, who was it in order? Hagens. Hagens, I would say. Maybe a Clayton Keller. Maybe not. I don't think he's as skilled as Clayton Keller is. Michael Granlund? I don't know. Yeah, maybe Michael Granlund comes to mind. Nick Ehlers, perhaps. I don't know. He's quite skilled. I don't know. Desnoyers? That's a tricky one. Because, like, let's see here. Yeah, like Desnoyers, who could he remind me of here? These are tricky. It's tricky. Like maybe at his best, like a Sean Couturier, but probably more like a, I don't know. Like I feel like there's a lot of Jordan Stalls in this draft. That's kind of how I feel. Like yeah, maybe those types of guys. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to bore people here, but that comes to mind. Who was the other one? OBrien. OBrien is more like finesse oriented and like maybe if he fills out like a Pavel Zacha or like maybe at his best like a Mark Scheifele type of thing, maybe like that's a ceiling, something like that. I don't know. I can't think of any way a 3-sided dice would work. Yeah, I need my dice in front of me because that would really help, and it would be a nice fidget toy for me. This is way off topic, but thoughts on Zach Newman. I have none. He is in the BCHL, and I have not watched much of the BCHL whatsoever. I love the work. Can I get out a shout out to my wife and son, Caitlin and Jack? My question, I'm in the Bay. Can't take Chicago fans continuing to say Misa is falling to them. He is going to San Jose, right? Okay, so shout out Caitlin and Jack, my best friend from childhood, oldest friend in the world. Shout out. He knows who he is. His first dog was Jack. Wonderful dog. Miss him very much. Awesome. So Jack is always fine by me. So what's up? Hope you're all doing well. I mean, look, I'm not against. I'm not sold on Misa going too. I am not, honestly. I'm thinking about an NHL team. Like I'm thinking Mike Greer, the guy who has gone out and gotten guys like Mukko Madulin, drafted Chernyshov, drafted Halttunen. They have a lot in the hopper, and I just don't know if Misa checks those boxes. They drafted Celebrini because that one was obvious. But I am curious because there's a lot of guys in this draft that I think are going to tempt San Jose to go a certain direction. Time will tell, but I am open to anything this season. Anything is possible. I don't know. I don't think NHL teams know what is actually going to go down at all right now. Outside of who NHL teams love. Like I don't know if there's a name for the phenomenon, but I am almost certain that it is real. Where like if there's a consistent like polling or evaluation system in place for a system, so let's say like political polling or something or whatever, the reason that a lot of times polls might miss stuff is because at the end of the like leading up to the date, like the cross-sectional date, if there's any late movement in any direction in the last like week, you can bet that the movement in reality is going to be way bigger than it looks like in the polls, right? Like if we get into the week of the draft and all of a sudden it's like people start to talk about a guy like, oh, maybe Anton Frondell is going to go number 2 to San Jose. Like that's what we're hearing. And there's a chance that happens. And like maybe some people will have Anton Frondell at like 6 on their list, 5 on their list, and then maybe 4, he goes first overall, right? Like that's an extreme example, but like that seems to be what's happening with a guy like Brady Martin. It seemed everybody was kind of reasonable with like, late teens, mid-teens, sure, I guess I could see that. And he's kind of crept up and up and up since the U18s. But it seems like in reality, he's going to end up at like 3. So I'm open to anything. It's a crazy house this year. So I don't know. I think there is a possibility. I don't think it's likely, but there is a possibility. Can you see Bear on the first line as a left winger? I mean, possibly. Like, I don't really think about it as like specifically like he's going to play on this line, right? Like, guys play on the first line who are there because a coach puts them there, right? Like, it's not that easy. Like, do I think Carter Bear is going to be a guy that no matter what is on the first line and every single night he's going to play 20-something minutes? I don't think so. But I think he could be a really good second line sort of power winger, really, really good skill. I really like him. I think people might be overcorrecting a little bit. He's been skating for a few weeks. So yeah, I think there's something there with Carter Bear that I like. I was watching my tape on him back, and I was watching him on our partner here, Sport Contract. Shout out Sport Contract, on the video that they actually. Yeah, I was, and he was pretty. I'm still on the board. I'm still on board with him, and still feeling really good about him. So, yeah, good player, loves the game. And look, if all else fails with Carter Bear, he's got a long road ahead of him as a voice actor or as a nature documentarian, because that voice he's got is there's a level of bass to it that I think everybody would love. So there's let's say hockey doesn't work out. I hope it does, but if it doesn't, don't worry, kiddo. You got options in your life, I think. By the way, people have said that about me, but no offers yet, voice acting or or narrating or anything. Could I be your Carl Sagan in your documentary? Sure, I'll do it, but no offers yet. So, give me a ring if you want, if you want. Has Martona fit? Okay, we did that. Are there any must-dos in Montreal that can be done or visited in a day or afternoon? Montreal is Montreal is a wonderful city. The better half is actually there for the race right now, so I'm alone at home. It's party time. But no, well, I like to have fun. I'm capable of being on my own, I swear. That's not why I'm on the internet talking to strangers, What can be done in a day or afternoon? Honestly, like, Montreal is a city that I think is really just cool to explore, right? Like, if you're a walking type, like, walking up the mountain is really cool. You get some really cool vantage points. You could even rent a bike maybe and go up the hill. It's a really, really beautiful area. And there's I'm a bit of a geek for architecture and houses and stuff. West Montreal or East Montreal, like in that area there, has some unbelievable houses, and up the mountain, there's some unbelievable things that are up there. And you could check that out if you're interested. But like, Montreal's just a really cool place to like walk around and explore. There's an old district down by the water that's really, really cool. If the F1 race is not happening while you're there, like walking around the park where the F1 race is really beautiful as well. Like, I was there for the F1 race in I think 2021, and like the walk around the park to get to the track was really, really beautiful and like really cool. So, I mean, look, Montreal is like, I grew up in Toronto, but Montreal is right up there. It's a beautiful place, and there's lots to do on a day on a day on a day on your own. If you're on your own, I don't know if you're on your own, but also the food, and some of the neighborhoods are really, really cool, and it's a great city to walk around in, and the subway service is phenomenal there. It's great. How does Keaton Verhoff compare to the defenseman in the 2024 draft? 2024. I would probably have him. I think I would have him like ahead of Perek, like behind Perek. Sorry, ahead of Perek and oh my god, probably somewhere between like Perek and Dickinson for me. Like, I loved Alphonse Fry last year, and I think he's had a much better season than his points would indicate playing pro hockey in Sweden. And as just a good defenseman, I think he's right there. But I still like Adam Jiricek. I think is a really special defensive player who I think has a ton of upside still. Zeev Buyam, I wouldn't put him ahead of Buyam. So probably at I probably would have him around Levshinov. Like, I had Perek, Levshinov, Dickinson that year, and I probably would have it Perek, Verhoff, Levshinov, Dickinson, and Levshinov just a little bit behind him, and Dickinson just a smidge behind him too. Do you have a roster of the OHL draftees? I do. It's available on the website for the tournament. Oh, the OHL guys. I don't think so. Let me look. No. No, the tournament I'm going to doesn't have like an Ontario specific team, so I don't have those rosters in front of me. Yeah. Too bad. Too bad, so sad. Okay. What Canucks prospects do you believe in? I think Ratu finally breaks out this year. I mean, I love Aatu Ratu, and I thought when he played with Vancouver, I thought he took a step this year and looked pretty good. I think Lekaramaki will find a role in the NHL. I mean, I still think there are limitations in his game, but he's not a bad player. Villander, again, I think is going to play some kind of role. I don't think he's going to be a first line, first pair defenseman, but maybe. I have a bit of a soft spot for Basil Sansonens, really young and really big, but I think as a defense first defenseman, like long term, there could be something there. Other than that, Melvin. Oh no, didn't they trade Melvin Fernstrom? Did they do that? Right? Did they do that? Am I wrong? Yes, they did. They traded him to Pittsburgh. Okay, so I haven't updated that in the trackers. So not him. But yeah, there's a few. They've got a few good ones. And of course, the other Elias Pettersson. He played all season with them pretty much. The Sea Dogs won the Mem Cup in 2022. Yes, they did, but they were the host and they didn't like. Yeah, they were. I remember that Memorial Cup very well. I spoke to someone who was a coach there, and they were very, very annoyed at that Memorial Cup. Quick thoughts on Lev Katzen. Yeah, I mean, he's small and quick and can really shoot, but I think he's a long shot. I have him at the tail end of my list. I just don't think he has the speed and the quickness to project really, really well. But yeah, I'm not. I thought he had a good under 18s, but only insofar as like he had the ability to play his style against that level of competition. But the NHL is going to play him a lot tighter, and I don't think he has the speed and the ferocity, I guess you might need for a guy that size. But he could learn that. You know, there's nothing that says he can't learn that. Mason West situation reminds me of EJ Emery last year. Mason West confirmed 12th to the Rangers. Exactly. Now we're nailing it. Yeah, no, I don't have the statue on Gleb Trikozov anymore. It got melted down. I needed the money, you know. The times are tough. How would you feel about a Hagens-Michkov combo for Philadelphia? It would suck. They'd be terrible. The Philadelphia Flyers would never win a game again. You can't win with small skill like that. It's just impossible these days. So I don't know. I'm kidding. I mean, Hagens in Philadelphia would make a ton of sense, and with Michkov already there, it'd be great. And Philadelphia has so much draft capital this year that they could do some really, really silly stuff if things go fun. It could, and it's going to be fun. Actually, let's do that right now because Philadelphia is always fun. Actually, maybe not. We don't do that. Nobody wants to see that. Okay. How do you feel about Riker Lee? Besides the skating, I think he has all-star potential. I think you're right. I think the skill level, some of the plays he makes, like again, pretty quickly in this year's draft, in terms of putting high-end play together and really driving good results, like and doing some incredible, impressive stuff, Lee becomes the best option pretty quick. He is a problem in terms of like pace of play and the defensive stuff. Like that, I think needs to be that needs to be worked on, but still really good. Like I mean, the skill level is great. And as a second-round pick, if he's the second guy you're picking, I think you're laughing. But he might be a late first-round pick, and you know might be a nice offensive piece in the future somewhere. Yes, Vasily Ponomaryov is going back to the KHL. How's the blue line data on Hagens? Let me just pull him up here and we'll do this. I hope this works. It should work. But yeah, you've got James Hagens over here. So here's my data on James Hagens. I mean, in general, like this is your transition data here. So like super involved, pretty successful going both ways, but you know, guys have been better than 68% in the transition efficiency category here. And again, he's kind of like flying the neutral zone a lot on pass receptions, but he's very good at it. Really, really good puck carrier as well. So it's good. Like the area that I think is the concern with Hagens is here, which is his shooting data. Like it's not awesome, but it's made up for by his passing data. Like it's all great. So in terms of Hagens, like I don't really worry about too much in his game, but the things I worry about, I think are a bit problematic. And yes, Mason West is a quarterback. I wonder if being a dual sport athlete helps or hurts Mason West's draft rating. Probably helps. I mean, more and more, I think there's people seeing the benefits of multi-sport athletes and athleticism in general, just being a better like base and foundation to develop on. So I buy it. I think there's upside there. Who knows what happens when he focuses more on hockey, right? Someone asked about mystery boxes earlier in the season, earlier in the draft, and that's Mason West. He's a good one. Thoughts on Martin Johnson? He's been kicking around, scoring points for years, and nobody cares. Just a guy who I don't think brings enough sort of pace and skill and skating ability to project, but smart passer. I've seen him a lot, and yeah, smart passer, solid player, but probably nothing more than a solid European player, I think. And maybe he gets picked and a team takes a swing on him because I know he's been quite productive, but I'm not sure. Yes, Carter Bear 8.0 voice rating. Agreed, yes. What's your favorite thing about working with AJ in case AJ watches his stream back? The fact that he does things I don't want him to. No, I mean, AJ is good because he's a nice test for me of like how to make this more marketable a little bit, and upping the graphic design game is helpful, and he's more experienced with like higher end editing stuff. So functionally there's that, and he's a good guy, he's ambitious as heck and really trying, and I can't fault that at all for a young guy like that. So yeah, it's good working with him, and the fact that he does a lot of things that I just don't want to do or don't have time to do, and he wants to help and has a really, I would say, professional approach to what he wants things to look like is really good. I think, like he really worked hard over the summer last year with me building this new dashboard for the show, and I think it's an upgrade, and we kind of have done a lot of things that I think have pushed things in the right direction. I don't know. That comment makes no sense. Will is about to do a Survivor marathon. No, but I did watch Oppenheimer yesterday. I turned all the lights out in the house and watched Oppenheimer. And then I had a dream last night after watching Oppenheimer and staying up way too late. I totally forgot that movie was like 3 hours long. Also, a little bit of an underwhelming movie, if I may have a hot take here. But anyway, so I went to bed after watching that movie. Probably not a great movie to watch right before you go to sleep, but I had like military dreams, but I had a dream that I joined the Canadian military and went to some base in the forest, and the gun range they had where people were like training there also doubled as like a hockey shot training facility where, it was like that, you ever see those clips of like Connor Bedard or Macklin Celebrini with that like plastic on the ground and a bunch of hockey pucks, and they're just rifling hockey pucks? There were like people shooting guns at the gun range and then like people shooting hockey pucks in the same space. And that was very, very weird. And yeah, weird dreams, definitely after a movie like that. And there's a lot of imagery in that movie that I think I was also seeing in my dreams as well. Like it looked like a lot of if you had like a bowl of water and you're dropping food coloring in it and it like kind of spreads or whatever. There's a lot of that in that movie, and that was in my dreams too. Anyway, I can't wait to see what I'm going to get into tonight after the I mean, assuming I'm watching the Oilers game tonight, I will. But yeah. Thoughts on the Brunis boys? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get opinions on all three of them next week, but I like them all. I have Svirchek ranked the highest. I think he just projects to the NHL really, really well, and there's upside as well. Sundqvist is the least projectable to the NHL, but boy, is he ever fast and fun and aggressive, and he scores a lot of goals by going to the net, and he does it in the SHL. Like, he can skate with the fastest of them, but that's about it. Like, he's just like speed, go to the net, go to the net, go to the net, and does not really pass the puck, does not really carry the puck super well, does not have too much really successful defensive impact. And if the puck gets to stick in the offensive zone, he can make a play, but it's not really his bread and butter. He is a guy that you put on the ice to go fast, hit hard, and go to the net and score goals. That's his job. Hillstrom, I love. Like, I think Gustav Hillstrom's one of the most underrated guys in the draft. He's got size. He's an amazing face-off guy as well. I think he's the statistically second best face-off guy in the database for me this year behind Dainvoyer. Skilled, really slippery, but aggressive and smart, and just a really good defense first guy. One of the best positional centers. Like when you combine skating ability and efficiency and awareness and positional awareness and, you know, cutting off lanes and removing options for guys, like he's really good at it, and it's really high end. It's just like the fun part of the game for him could be better. Like he's got some skill, but I'd love to see it more. He's got some speed, but I'd love it with the puck more. He can make some really good passes, but it's not as often as I would like. So yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's some good stuff. And yeah, they're all good, and I feel like they're all undervalued in the draft, and they're all on the short list for team scouting. Like it's entirely possible that right now it stands as like the Leafs will have 63 or 64. So I would imagine that's going to be Sverchek. I have Cam Schmidt in there and Carter Amico as well. Like I can't imagine Amico will be there now. I have Vansagi down there. I feel like Vansagi won't be available now, so I probably should swap him out. Andrianov is in there as well, but I can't imagine Sverchek is gone before 64, maybe, but that's where I would go with him. And then it's the third round. They got 95, I think, projected. I've got Hillstrom at the top slot there. LJ Mooney's in there. Quinn Beauchene. I mean, honestly, you might be able to get all three of those guys at 95, 137, and 153 in some combination. So you might end up with all of them. I mean, Sundqvist might be a seventh rounder, right? For all I know. And I love Svert. I love him, but like I don't think there's a high likelihood of him making the NHL, but yeah. Where did I have Ratu ranked pre-draft? Like 13, something like that. 14, I think. Like teens, somewhere in the teens. Which bird is more iconic or better than the dodo? Was it the Quetzalcoatlus, the biggest flying bird of all time? Yeah, Quetzalcoatlus? Yeah, the Quetzalcoatlus. Yeah, the largest flying animal in history, I believe, that they know of. An 11-meter wingspan? Is that the one? Yeah. Those are pretty cool. That's a pretty iconic bird. They're pretty cool. Thoughts on the award voting? I'm surprised that a lot of these awards are as lopsided as they are. It's pretty amazing. Like I thought it would be closer between Celebrini and Hudson. I thought it would be closer between guys like Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. But I guess I was wrong. Do you ever think about becoming a part of the PHWA? Sure. I mean, I don't do a tremendous amount of writing, but it would be fun. You know, people finding my award ballots would be hilarious. Yeah, so iconic I had to Google it. I wasn't sure if it was like a Archaeopteryx or some sort of other pterosaur. I also wanted to get the name right, you know, Quetzalcoatlus. It was a wisp in my mind, you know. I wanted to get it right. But yeah, I mean, for the PHWA, I'm not sure what that process is like. I feel like you have to be invited, but I don't know. If it happens, it happens. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say no. If you were the Penguins, would you rather the Rangers give them 2025 or a 2026 first, considering the Rangers will more likely improve next year, so either 12 or to 20 or 20 to 24 and 26? I mean, I wouldn't be so fast to assume the Rangers are going to get better. They didn't look amazing this year. I would say, I mean, I think they can wait right up until the draft, right? Because like there are players at 12 that I probably would want, and I would just take the pick and wait and risk next year. But if there are like if Victor Eklund is gone or something, I will probably go with trading the pick or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, and I think they still have time to decide. But yeah, it's a risk if you don't if you give it up. If you don't give it up, it's a risk because But I mean, I think then it would be like an impetus for the Rangers to really go out and try to do really well. But teams have been burned doing that before, but it's more likely that they don't get burned doing that, you know. Is Cullen Potter better at hockey or Quidditch? Definitely Quidditch, 100%, because he's a wizard. Which players do you multiply by 100 to have your higher ranked players better? So what I do is I take their height and I flip it. So the smallest guys, because I put a decimal point in front of their height in centimeters, and so it's like 0.177, and then I divide all their points by that number so that it increases more the smaller the number. The closer that number is to 0, the bigger the number. That's mathematics for you. That's just how you do it. That's how you do the job. Liam Danielson ? Probably a good European player, I'd say. Was there any dumb in hindsight games you played as a kid? I mean, I don't know about like dumb, but I mean, we played a game in middle school called Wall Ball, I think, or something, where it was like a rubber ball and you smacked it on the ground against a wall. It's kind of like squash a little bit, but if you screwed up, like if you missed the wall, then you went up against the wall and someone got to throw the ball at you as hard as they can. I mean, I thought that was fun. I don't know about dumb, but that was fun. And that was really popular. What about when I was like really little? I mean, when I was like in elementary school, we just played normal games, right? Like we had like road hockey sets that we would use at recess time. And yeah, like I wouldn't say there was anything like really dumb. We had like lacrosse stuff that we could play with. Yeah, nothing crazy. Yeah, the spread eagle wall ball thing. Yeah, that was a good one. Do you have any family traditions that you do? I mean, nothing that weird, like that strange. My mom loves putting up Christmas trees all over the place, so there's a lot of those around. Yeah, not really. Nothing out of the ordinary, I don't think. My family's not, it's pretty boring. A political question. I don't really want to talk about that, honestly. Let's just say I value human life. We'll say that. We'll say I value all human life, and every human life is valid, and there are people out there whose lives are considered less valid than others these days, and that is wrong. Leafs not having 67. Yes, it's a real it's a shame. Why does McKinney rank so low? Detail-oriented, hardly ever takes a shift off, wins draws, good athleticism, and a solid all-around toolbox. A coach's dream. Is it just a perceived lack of upside? I mean, yeah. I mean, I think he'll go in the first round, and I wouldn't be against that idea. He's a good player. I think it's just the upside, like the skill level and the creativity and everything. Like his game is pretty simple but effective, and again, I think he's just another one of these guys that probably projects as a bottom end of your lineup type player. And I don't know. I feel if he goes 20th or something, I get it. Sure. But yeah. Any thoughts on David Bydkowski? He is big and he hits and he is mean. That's about it. Yes, I would have Gleb Trikozov on every single voting ballot. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right. Even the Jack Adams, best coach in the league. This 19, 20-year-old Russian kid from Omsk. Yes, they have, okay, so 48 hours to decide. I mean, I guess it doesn't make a difference then, because you won't see who comes off the board. Knowing how things probably go down, if I'm the New York Rangers, I keep the pick and draft someone who I have in my top 10 that probably will be there, probably top 5, like Eklund or Potter or something. It's entirely possible. And I would like to have those players, and I know that I would like to have them. And then hope my team is better next year. That's my hope. Thoughts on David Krejci as a comp for Jake O'Brien? I could see that too. That's a good one. I didn't think of David Krejci, but that's a good one. Top 5 favorite television shows of all time. Ooh, this is fun. Okay, that's a fun one. Now we're talking. Joni loves Chachi. All 5? Can I say no? I mean, The Simpsons basically raised me. I don't think people understand how much of a cultural cornerstone The Simpsons was back in the day. And that still rings true. I was also a big South Park guy growing up. And South Park, especially like the first 15 seasons, 12, 15 seasons, which is quite a run, is classic. Some of those still really hold up and are still good. These days, I love Foundation. I'm a big sci-fi guy. So there's that. Let's get that out of the way. I am biased towards science fiction. And in terms of like Foundation is great. I've read the books, and I did when I was a kid, and the way that they've adapted those books to television is it's phenomenal. And that show just gets better and better the more you watch it, in my opinion. And the end of season 2, season 3 is coming out in a month, and the end of season 2 was bonkers. It was crazy. But what else? I mean, I really like The Circle. Yeah, Silo is one I haven't seen, but I've been meaning to, so I might get into that one. Probably in the off season. I don't have that much time to watch TV these days, but in the off season I will. What did I just say? There was one I just said. Wow. Trailer Park Boys, for sure, on that list. Hard to say that isn't on the list because I'm a Canadian. Oh, The Circle. That's the one I said, on Netflix. If I want reality TV, I can only handle like one every 3 months. The Circle is one I will watch religiously. That show rocks. And they're teetering really close, I think, on the lack of novelty thing, you know, like Too Hot to Handle, for example. The first season was incredible. The second season was still pretty good. But then it just became a show about who can break the rules the most for the moment on television. And then I think the game show realized like that's what's happening, and that they just made ways for them to make the money back. So it doesn't matter, right? Like there should have been seasons where it's like you just lose all the money and everybody goes home, and like lesson learned, right? Or something. I don't know. But so I don't really watch that one anymore if I want garbage, but that one's good. Phineas and Ferb. That's a little after my time, but I have heard it's very good. Same thing with like an Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Like I kind of watched that a little bit, but not enough to really appreciate it for what it is. But I mean, look, like there's been a lot of good TV lately for sure. For All Mankind is another sci-fi show that's really, really sick. Haven't seen Severance yet. That's another summertime one for me, I think. But yeah, For All Mankind, again, I'm a nerd for this kind of thing, and that show is incredible, and the next season needs to come out real fast. Even though, again, the show might be jumping the shark a little bit. You know, I might, you know, spoiler alert a little bit here, but that show started to lose me a little bit when the guy's daughter, who was pregnant, got launched into space on a rocket with like, and like, she was pregnant and they launched her into space, and then she like detached herself from the rocket and soared through space with a jetpack on to connect with a spaceship that was like she kind of Mark Watney'd it from The Martian, right? She kind of did one of these while pregnant, and like that, the way they did it and the way it was animated with the music was a little bit over the top, but it was like I saw that and I laughed. But the first few seasons where it was a lot more sort of old school Apollo era space oriented, where there wasn't a whole lot of laughing, that I found a lot better. Yes, I agree. Malcolm in the Middle was also good. Oh, King of the Hill. I did not appreciate it until I was an adult. I will admit that. I never got it when I was a kid, but I love that show now. It is the best, especially because I understand Hank Hill pretty good. I feel very tethered to him in ways like personality wise, but I think he might be a little rough around the edges relative to me in terms of you know, like the way he talks to Peggy sometimes I would probably not do in my own house. But regardless, in terms of overall vibe, I get it. You know, the shot of him shooting himself in the head with a hose, you know, I think about that often. Oh, that the wall game for you was called Butts Up. That's hilarious. That's great. Uh, I think some people also in Canada called it Red Ass, I think. Um, and yes, I agree. I think Hank Hill does have a little bit of sort of autism spectrum there. Definitely. I mean, how could you not? I mean, you could argue that all of the guys on that show do a little bit. Bill and maybe not Boomhauer, but like Dale, probably a little bit. John Redcorn, I don't think so. Rest in peace, by the way, to his voice actor. Real tragedy there, seriously. But John Redcorn, probably not. He seems pretty typical. But yes, the main cast of characters, probably. Bobby, probably a little bit, but not as much. Will for Hart Trophy voting, Stankoven, Robertson, Trikazov, Rossi, Jarvis. How do you know me so well? Like, who are you? Are you my dad? This is crazy. How screwed is Toronto losing Marner for nothing? Well, they haven't lost him for nothing yet, right? They haven't lost him yet, But we'll see what they replace him with. That's the key. They're going to have a lot of money to play with by not signing him. Who do they replace him with? Because when I look at the unrestricted free agent class this year, good luck. Good luck. Hockey, but like soccer using a tennis ball and a wall as the net. We did do that too. Yep, we did do that too. Elephants or donkeys? Elephants. No, all respect to donkeys, all respect to donkeys, but elephants are cool, man. Elephants are sick. And look, feminism at its finest. Female elephants carrying and gestating a child for, 2 years? Bless you. That is incredible. That's just an incredible thing. So yes, very, very much a fan of elephants. I've never seen an elephant in real life, I don't think. I might have seen one at the zoo in Toronto when I was a kid. I could be wrong. I think they did have an elephant or elephants. But regardless, wonderful creatures. Whereas my experience with donkeys, I rode one up a hill once. And it was slow and boring. But I'm not going to take it for granted. I've had the life experience of riding a donkey up a hill, and there are probably a lot of people who have not had that experience of riding a donkey up a hill. One is much more exciting than the other. But the sound that donkeys make is better than the sounds elephants make. Might be a hot take, but if an elephant honked and hee-hawed like a donkey, it'd be the greatest animal in history. No questions asked. Thoughts on Papanekis. He's an interesting one. Another mystery box, I think. Skilled. I don't have him ranked. I just don't know when he would be the guy I would take, but there is skill. He's pretty lanky, and he has had some good moments in isolation. I could see him being a really good junior player. I'm not sure about like NHL, but I don't know. At some point in the year, you kind of go, there are just a lot of guys I've seen a lot of and other guys that I've also seen quite a bit of. And I might be missing something and I have to accept that, like, especially with the way I do things, like data focused. I've seen Papanekis quite a bit. I've tracked a few games on him, and relative to the guys who have really caught my attention, he just hasn't quite broken through that for me. Think Horvat for Martone as a comp? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think Martone is more like a Blake Wheeler at his best type thing, where you kind of wish you got a little more defensive play out of him, but the offense is what you really get him for. Which character would score the most in the NHL? Homer, Patrick Starr, Cartman, or Peter Griffin? Oh God. Well, who's the fattest? Probably Peter Griffin, right? Homer Simpson's a fat guy, but Peter Griffin is a house. And so I feel like if you just took Peter Griffin and parked him in front of a net, you probably have a lot of luck. Cartman is like this tall, so that's not going to work. And he's like, I saw the episode where he faked an illness to get into the Special Olympics and still came in last, which one of my favorite episodes of the show. completely. Like, such a great, like, that's typical peak South Park. Like, take something, push the envelope on what is acceptable in society, but do it in a way that is also making it look really, really stupid. You know what I mean? Like, obviously someone faking being, like having mental difficulties just to get into the Special Olympics, it gets into some questionable territory about like your voice acting and like, some moral questions there. But if it's to make the main character doing it look incredibly stupid and pathetic because they're doing it and they are trying to take advantage of people and failing, and they make the people that they are taking advantage of look actually really, really good and really cool and really proud to be themselves, that's South Park to me. That's the best. Patrick Star, I feel like, would be the most useless because he's a starfish, and starfish are coated in water. And if you've ever like washed your hands and stuck your hand in the ice box, it sucks. So Patrick Star probably gets stuck to the ice and he's useless. He probably hurts himself. So he's automatically lowest on the ranking there. Gustav Sjöqvist. I don't know who that is. I'll look him up. Sjöqvist. He's big. There's a big boy. Cool. Well, I'll take a look. Score a lot of goals this year. Boy, look at him go. Dale is something else. Yeah, Dale is something else. You're telling me. You think about spraying yourself in the head with the water hose often? Well, I think about that scene often, and there are times when I wish I could, it's just it's a mentality thing for me. Do you think the Canucks could draft 15 or dangle the pick for Rossi? I would trade that pick for Marco Rossi every day of the week. Just done. Question over. Red or blue? Are we talking Pokemon? Because when I grew up, I had red and my sister had blue. And when my sister stopped playing the Pokemon game, I took it and played blue. And then I got a link cable and traded all the Pokemon that are exclusive. That's what I did when I was a kid. If this isn't a question about Pokemon, that's embarrassing. But if it is a question about Pokemon, red, 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 red. I mean, I can't lie. I was a boy growing up and I liked red. Red is cool. So give me Pokemon Red relative to blue. Blue is lame. But in retrospect, Squirtle, good starter. But I think you gotta go Charmander, because the number of fire Pokemon available to you early is pretty limited. So to me, it's the you get Charmander and you struggle through Brock, right? Because it's a rock type guy. But then you're kind of good because Charmander levels quickly and you get yourself a Charmeleon pretty quickly, and fire is rare relatively in that game. So you're rolling. But if you get the Bulbasaur, it's like there are Pokemon out there that do the Bulbasaur thing pretty quick. And Squirtle, you can get a water Pokemon. You go to Walmart, they're selling George labeled Pokemon for 1 credit at the store, right? Like you can get a water Pokemon anytime you want. So what are you getting a Squirtle for? I don't know if that's a hot take, but I don't care. That is true. That is a fact. So yeah, Charmander supremacy for sure. Left Twix or right Twix? Well, I'm left-handed, so I think it's left automatic. Like I'm thinking, yeah, left first for sure. Like I eat with my left hand. Like I use a fork with my left hand. So if I'm breaking a Twix apart, it's going left. But Kit Kat's better. Out of 10, how would the Houston Mules rate for a hockey team name? I like it, but I think if you're going to name a team the Mules, you need some alliteration. So like if you put a team in, say, Missoula, Montana, the Montana Mules, on the other hand, now we're talking. But you probably don't want to put an NHL team in Missoula, Montana. No disrespect to Missoula, but it's very small. You could put a team in Halifax. Put a team in Halifax and call them the Maritime Mules. That would sell like hotcakes. I'm telling you now. Yeah, and the goal, like think of all the country music potential in hockey. Everybody loves country music in hockey, but think about the old McDonald ass stuff you could play over the loudspeakers with mule sounds when they score goals. It would be the best Gen Z experience. You want to market a team to skibbity toilet people. I think naming a team the Mules and just going nuts with the marketing on it, I'm down. I'm in for it. Cartman is very deceptive and intelligent. I don't know about intelligent. He is cunning, I would say. Deceptive, yes. Manipulative, yes. But being manipulative and intelligent are two very different things, you know? And I mean, just look at my neighbors to the south. They're very deceptive and manipulative, but I wouldn't call them intelligent. Cunning, yes. Manipulative, yes. Not intelligent. But Cartman, I don't think Cartman would draw penalties. I don't think he would, honestly. He's too slow, so he's not going to like get those like I'm out skating you and you trip me penalties. He's not going to get a boarding penalty because he's so tiny. Like I think he would be treated more like a Sean Avery. I think referees pretty quickly would be like, get off the ice, you baby, get up, come on, stop screwing around, you know. Red elephants or blue donkeys? I am gonna say, and yes, we do need a logo of a puffin biting a stick in half. This is what ChatGPT was made for, so you go right ahead and do it. Blue elephants or blue donkeys or red elephants? I'm gonna go with a red elephant. I think that would be pretty cool, you know? Like that's pretty cool. You know, donkeys, it's really hard to make a donkey look cool. You know? I don't get me wrong. I love donkeys. They're cool. You know, donkeys are fine by me. In the animal kingdom, donkeys are all right. They're better than sea urchins. You know? Sea urchins are cool, but screw those things. No, thank you. No, they are like 40% of the reason I don't like swimming in the ocean. But donkeys, it's hard to make them cool. Elephants by default are cool, and making an elephant red, it makes it look like even more sort of badass, and you don't want to screw around with an elephant in the first place, let alone a red one. You know, like it seems like one that's ready for war. And yes, a donkey with a donkey wearing sunglasses, even just how about a donkey wearing sunglasses with all of its teeth out and a margarita in one hand? That's the logo I want. Or sorry, you can't do an alcoholic beverage, but it's like a martini glass with a nondescript lime green drink in it with a rimmed, like a salt rim on it. And he's just having a great time. And the background of the logo can be like an orange wheel of some kind, like just a slice of an orange, and you put that team in Halifax. It's so nonsensical and stupid. It would be a global brand. It would be a global brand. Fun fact, Frank Nazar likes all music but country. What a loser answer. No offense. I like Frank Nazar, I'm not going to lie. But everybody used to say that when they were 17. I like all music but country music. Liar. You listen to Conway Twitty and you tell me that you don't like country music. I actually don't know too much about country music, but you know, there's some jams in country music, you know. It's some pretty decent. Nazar or Will Smith? Probably Nazar, but Smith will score more, I think. If you put Smith in the right situation, he'll be more productive. But overall, as a hockey player, I might lean Nazar, but Smith is definitely a tremendously offensively skilled player. I want to get AJ's reaction watching this stream 2 hours in talking about elephants and donkeys. Well, look, this is what I think draws people in to stay, right? People come for the hockey. They stay for the disaster weirdness off the chain discussions, because that's what I particularly enjoy. I talk about hockey players all year long, but these out of left field questions about total nonsense, that's what is the level above, you know. That's the top. So if AJ doesn't like it, he can he can frig right off and go back to his job, because I will happily talk about donkeys and elephants and Quetzalcoatluses and whatever the hell else is going on as much as you guys want. And okay, so last question of the show: AJ or Tony Ferrari? Well, I'll say this. I have hugged Tony Ferrari, and it felt really nice. Not to say that AJ is not like that, but it's not this. It's different. AJ's different, you know? It's like picking between your children. You know, you love them equally for different reasons. Which would be a better Olympian? What? Okay, which would be a better Olympian? Elite. Elias Pettersson riding an elephant or Draisaitl riding a donkey? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. That's complete and total nonsense. So I'm going to call it. I think we're going to end the stream there. So thank you very much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. No, AJ is not a Lamborghini. He's more of a, what's that car? Like a Polaris slingshot, or like a T-Rex car, you know, like those 3-wheeled ones that go, or a BAC mono, where it's like in the wrong hands, you're going to lose control and it's going to want to run off on you. But if you can control it, you'll have some fun. Okay, last question. Fine. Sam Dickinson or Sam Rinzel? Probably Dickinson, but Rinzel's also pretty good. But Dickinson does have some road to catch up to Rinzel for sure. So I probably go Dickinson. But thank you very much for joining us. This is gonna be it. We're gonna call it. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me. Again, we are off next week for streams, but we'll have content all week. And then we'll be back for a show. They're on the YouTube channel, so you can book the dates now if you want. But we have a show on the 23rd. As a draft week kickoff show, then the rankings drop on the 26th, and then the draft is the 27th, 28th, and then a show on the 30th recapping the draft, and that's the end of the month. So look forward to that, and then after that we got the recaps coming up, the recap videos. So we'll see you then. Yes, I agree. This show is the Frank Zappa of hockey prospect scouting. It will be barely seen and nobody cares, and then I will be seen as some sort of political radical for some reason, and fewer people will care, and then I will have a premature passing away, and then all the teenagers will catch on and definitely, you know, respect the weirdness. But no, I mean, I hope not. You know, I mean, I love Frank Zappa's cool, you know, big fan, but hope not. You know, I try not to chain smoke as much as he did. So yeah, hopefully things last a little longer. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll see you in a little over a week, and it'll be draft season. So let's have some fun, and we'll see you then. Toodles.